Today I will talk about communication in the workplace with people with dwarfism. I will give you an overview of the condition, a cultural and historical background, and provide different tips on communication with little people in the workplace. So for an overview of the condition, dwarfism is rare. There is less than 200,000 cases per year. It is defined as the adult height of 4 feet 10 inches or less. The average adult height in dwarfism is about 4 feet. It is the shortness in height that results from a genetic or medical condition. There is two types of dwarfism. There is disproportionate and proportionate dwarfism. So we're going to look at those. The types of dwarfism. The disproportionate dwarfism, some average sized parts of the body, and then some are shorter than normal parts of the body. Achondroplasia is the most common disproportionate dwarfism, causing a normal-sized torso but short limbs. For proportionate dwarfism, the individual is smaller than average all over or all around. This includes growth hormone deficiency dwarfism, primordial dwarfism, and Sickle syndrome. On to the cultural history and background. Dwarves appeared in many cultures. They are depicted in ancient stone and clay funerary sculpture in Egypt, India, China, and Mayan civilizations. As explained in an article by Betty M. Adelson titled Understanding Dwarfism, the Egyptian courts were unique in that they offered roles to dwarves as priests and courtiers, as well as jewelers and keepers of linen and toilet objects. So for the data, like I mentioned, dwarfism is a rare condition, but dwarfism can be caused by one of more than 200 different types of dwarfism, with an estimated 30,000 people in the United States and 651,700 in the world. This condition cannot be cured, and it is actually a very rude comment to say to a person with dwarfism that they should be cured or that you think that there is a cure for it. It is a genetic condition, which means that there's no way of curing this condition. There's an interesting fact. 80% of little people, are born to average-sized parents. Also, another fact that I learned is that usually in dwarfism's their vocabulary does not usually use the word normal. So their parents are not normal sized, but they are average sized. So some cultural values. Little people were considered to be intimately connected to the divine. In fact, in an article by Liz Lenz titled A Brief History of Dwarfism, the ancient Egyptians associated dwarfs with Bes, the god of home, family, and childbirth. That is pictured here, the blue god on your right hand side. That's Bes. And Ptah, the god of Earth's essential elements. And this is pictured as well, the man with the blue head and gold body. So here we have some positive and negative stereotypes. These, like any other stereotype, are mostly given and not actually told by dwarf or little people. So just keep that in mind. Some positive stereotypes is that they are capable, intelligent, kind, and normal. Again, like I said, normal is not really a word that little people use. So like I said, these stereotypes are mostly given to little people and not said by little people. Although you do hear a lot of little people say that they are capable and intelligent, just like any other person would be. Some negative stereotypes is that they are weird, incapable of doing things on their own. They are hot-headed, like we see in movies, and childlike. So, here we have some do's and don'ts in communication. First, I'm going to talk about the don'ts because I feel like those are a lot easier. Don't name call. You don't want to call them, hey child, hey son. These are not words that you would use in the workplace. These are not words that they appreciate. And, um, most little people usually prefer to be called by their name in the first place. So, no name calling. Do not lean over to talk to them. They're not children. They are full-grown adults, just like you and me. Their height should not matter, so don't lean over. Don't suggest to carry a person. If you see them struggling or anything, say, hey, what can I do to help you? Or, hey, do you need any help? But don't be like, hey, let me just carry that for you, or let me just carry you over to this place. If you're in a hurry, then you can leave them behind. Or usually there are people who use those mechanical wheelchairs that will make it easier for them to get around in a workplace or in a fast-paced environment. So don't suggest to carry a person. Don't talk to them like a child. Like I said, they're not a child. They're just like you and me, adults. Just their height is shorter than we are. And lastly, do not make assumptions that everyone has the same values about dwarfism. When in doubt, it's best to ask if you feel like you've crossed a line or if you feel like you have no idea what you're doing when talking to them or expressing yourself to them, then you can always just ask. Most people are glad to tell you what they like, what they don't like. So now, set your expectations, whether you're a subordinate, a superior, or a lateral. If you work with them, then you want them to know what you expect of them, and you also want them to tell you what they expect of you. Sitting for a meeting would be like the best idea to have whenever you want to talk to a person with dwarfism, especially if you are a superior. Do ask about referencing your employee to HR and other entities when talking about their condition. Dwarf or dwarfism is the medical accepted term, but we also have words like LP, little people, short statured person, and things like that we'll talk about later on. Know that little people have physical limitations and know your particular little people or little person's physical limitations. Don't ask them to do things that you should be aware that they are not able to do. And like any other workplace, respect comes before anything else. Also, like I said, dwarf is the medically accepted term. As mentioned by an article in the Mayo Clinic, some people prefer the term short stature or little person rather than dwarf or dwarfism. So it is important, like I said, to be sensitive to the preference of the one who is or has the disorder. Now I know this may sound redundant, but vocabulary and terms are very important, especially when you're working with a dwarf person. So here are some acceptable terms. Little people, LP, person of short stature, or person with a form of dwarfism are all acceptable. Most people with dwarfism see the word dwarf as acceptable, but like you and me, most people would rather be referred to by their name rather than a label. So always keep that in mind. Me being a Mexican would not appreciate being referred to as the Mexican from the office. I would rather be referred to as Suzette or Miss Montfort. So keep that in mind. So now we're going to talk about strategies and skills. So a little people will have physical limitations, like I mentioned before. Know your person's physical limitations and respect them, abide by them. And if necessary, then have some kind of ADA form of way to help them when it comes to that physical limitation. Strategies may include some type of apparatus. Like I mentioned, some little people usually use a automatic wheelchair to get them around in large offices or a fast-paced environment. Or some people use sticks or buttons or things like that. Just always know what your little person needs and be sure that you can provide it. When it comes to communication, little people would communicate just like any other person would. They do not have trouble communicating through emails or on the phone. Their voice is rarely ever, I don't think I saw any cases where their voice or their speech form was ever affected by dwarfism. But like I said, know your person's limitations. Working in teams, the way of working in teams does not change. You treat them just like you would with any other person, with respect. You help when help is needed or asked for, and you complete the work as a team. Nevertheless, people with dwarfism should be seen as adults capable of being worth of responsibilities taken in the workplace. So always, like I said, with respect and helping each other out, never in a rude manner. When it comes to relevant customs and traditions, although there is no customs or traditions specified by little people, this can change with each person's cultural religion, and you should always be prepared to abide and help this person just like you would any other person. Thank you so much for listening. Today I talked about the cultural history of dwarfism. I told you what dwarfism is. I also gave you some pointers about how little people should be seen in the workplace and gave advice about how you can better communicate and include little people in the workplace. Thank you.